Frag out. See you in hell. I'm pinned down over here.
Frag out. Signal from the recon tower. It'll be active soon.
Hey everybody, Brandon Jones here with Daniel Bloodworth. We did most of our Ubisoft Gamescom stuff. This is one outlier that we had talked about. We can't actually share the news with all of you, and this is something I'm curious about because I'm dreading this actually because I played a ton of Wildlands. Was not expecting this game to captivate me as much as it did.
Yeah.
Played a bunch. Was happy to put that controller down because I put so many hours into Wildlands. And so it's like anytime some news comes up, there's some weird progression system and other stuff that they added to the game. It's like, no, 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 don't give me another excuse to go back into this. And so this is yet another reason why I could get sucked back into Wildlands. So I kind of want you to go underneath my expectations here. I want you not to impress me. Go Bloodworth.
Yeah, well, I'm in a kind of a funny position. I was a little intimidated because I didn't play Wildlands, and so I was like, here it is. There's one of the games at their event that's like, okay, I'll save that for later. So, but you know, there was time to get into it. But this is the new PvP mode that they're going to be introducing, and it's called Ghost War, and it's 4-on-4. It kind of like has a nice middle ground between like a standard shooter that has you like respawning constantly, and something like Rainbow Six, where you just like, you're dead, yeah. Wait until the next match.
See you 20 minutes later.
Yeah. So basically, you're in a team, and when you go down, you won't respawn, but somebody can revive you.
Ah, okay.
So it's really it's kind of like that
Smart.
That tug of war.
Teamwork, baby.
It's like,
yeah.
Okay, it's 4v4, and now it's 2v4, and now it's 3v3. You know, and it kind of goes back and forth, and that actually kind of plays into some of the strategy too, because if you take somebody down, then well, you know that somebody's at some point going to come and try to save them.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, they know that you're somewhere in the vicinity, so it's kind of like, you know, this cat and mouse game of like, okay, who's gonna stick around, who's gonna move on, who's gonna like reposition themselves to try to take advantage of you going in there, and so it's a lot of it is really just about coordination and marking enemies and knowing where the enemy is. The one map that we were doing, I feel like the most times there's like a little bit of a town, but then there's this huge space of forest, and it was so funny because like people just stayed away from the town, like really clear line of sight and everything like that, and you got people sneaking through the forest, and then you'd have one guy,
player unknown style.
You'd have one
like
guy.
Every victory screen I've ever seen from Battlegrounds is a guy in a bush. You know, it's like that's where it ends every time.
So we'd have one guy that would be where the enemies were focused on. And then, you know, you could kind of come up along the side and along the back side of somebody. Like, it's like, I see you. You come, you know, you're trying to follow him. Classes are very important. They say there's going to be 12 different classes, and they showed us half of those. And so they had like different class types. So there's like an assault type, a marksman type, and a support type. So within each of those types, so within the assault type, there's the point man, and the thing about them is that they can't be like disrupted. So like one of the things that you can do with the enforcer, who's on the marksman side, is that you can lay down suppressive fire, and so when somebody's suppressed, then their vision kind of goes blurry, and they kind of have to like back off.
Oh, okay.
But the point man doesn't.
Okay.
So he's immune to that. He can't be suppressed, and even like when you're shooting him, it says no, can't suppress. You can't do that. Then there's the tank, which is pretty obvious. Like he's got, you know, more health and can take fire, so that he can kind of draw people towards him, and then other people can flank around. Snipers, again, that's a pretty obvious one. But the snipers were pretty brutal sometimes, because they could be like way off on a hill.
Yeah.
You know, and
Ghost
like
Recon.
you can mark them, but that doesn't mean that you can get to them. The enforcer, as I mentioned, can suppress people, and then on the support side, there's the scout and the artillery, who can both put up drones.
I was gonna say drones. Okay, so only certain classes.
Yeah, only those guys can put up drones.
Interesting.
And so the scout is more focused on marking people,
which is huge.
But the other drone can call in mortar fire on guys. But it's really tricky because at least with the mortar drones, like you couldn't really stealth it because they would like put the tag on there. Like you would just see like this orange box flying around that says mortar, and so you really have to be careful and be sneaky to like actually pull off a mortar strike. And even then, if people are paying attention, they can run out of it. But that's part of the strategy. Is like
maybe more to like trap people or something. Like if their backs are against the wall, and then you see the mortar strike. Oh god, we gotta move. It's easy to move, but like there's no good place for us to move that we're not exposed. Like interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's just really interesting because to like when you go down, like you can kind of talk to your teammates and look through like the other people's cameras and say like, okay, there's somebody over there to your side and,
while you're alive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really about teamwork. I don't know that I would. This is a game that I would want to play with random folks.
No, probably not. Yeah.
Because that's where you just get
co-op's hit or miss in the actual game, but versus I bet that's not. Especially if you have a team. If you're playing with a bunch of strangers against a bunch of strangers, then that's okay. But if you're playing against 4 friends that play all the time, you're dead.
Yeah. But it's like just that full coordination. Just even from when you're picking, what class are you going to be? What class am I going to be? How are we going to balance this team out?
So definite restrictions. Were there restrictions with, depending on your class. So were there restrictions with the types of weapons you had to, I'm assuming? Like,
yeah, they had specific types of weapons.
Probably preloaded for the demo, but do you know if I can, like, be like, hey, that's my machine gun I always use for my assault class or whatever?
I imagine that there will probably be weapon loadouts and stuff like that. They didn't get into them there at the event.
Vehicles.
No vehicles in there.
Okay.
Yeah, we were on...
Was there any... Did they tell you not to go too far? Like, was it just... Because it's a big map, and so I think this is...
Oh, so these are... The ones that we played, they were, like, pretty specifically contained maps.
Okay.
So you weren't just, like, out in the open world.
Interesting. I wonder how they built that. I wonder if that's just, like, a cordoned off section of, obviously, of the massive, huge, map that they've already built.
Yeah. So they were pretty good medium size. So, they didn't feel so big that you would walk forever without seeing anybody. But, like, again, like that sniper, like, he would just be pretty far off when he'd be marked. So you'd have to figure out how to get around to him.
I just wonder if there's any advantage having played the single player now, knowing the map a little bit. Like if you like jump into multiplayer and you go spawn on a map and you're like, I know where we are. Like I've been through this area many times. Versus somebody that's like, I didn't play Wildlands and this multiplayer mode comes out. Maybe I'll go check that out. And it's like that person knows this area a little more than you do. Yeah. Or if it's just like the areas are kind of generic anyway. There's only a couple like real specific like set piece spots.
The other thing that was really kind of interesting is each of the maps had like a tower on them, and you had to wait for the tower to be ready or whatever. But once it was ready, you could go to that, and if you activate the tower, then it marks everybody on the opposite team.
Okay.
And so that's one of those things where it's like, okay, you can mark everybody, but at the same time, like if you go to that tower, you're a target. Like people know to look for people there. But
you can, if you have a good scout, they can also mark everybody too, right?
Yeah.
And are you like permanently marked for the matchup, I guess?
No, I think you still have to be somewhat in somebody's line of sight.
Okay.
Not entirely, but there were definitely times where like I was like when you're marked, like they put it on screen. It's like you've been marked. And then the same thing, like when they've lost sight of you, then like you're unmarked.
Okay. And you start the match, I'm assuming, together.
Yeah.
Like you and 3 of the people, right? So were the maps big? I mean, it's a huge map.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like they're pretty medium-sized maps.
Right, so but did you feel
it's like
free enough that you could go hide or like spread out enough? And
oh yeah, you could spread out a pretty good ways.
So if you're a sniper, you're not closed in at all. Like okay.
So again, no vehicles. So like, just imagine, like without having vehicles, like just how big like a good zone would be. I don't really know, but like this, you could be in the forest and not see the town necessarily, like or like it would be like in the very far distance. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Again, I'm curious. You've You've pleased me, Blood. I'm satisfied with the things that I'm hearing. This sounds like a smart addition to this game. Like I said, because they created so much real estate for this game, maybe more than they needed to, because it was just blown away by how huge the map was.
Yeah, and that's the thing I didn't even think about when you were saying that. Like I was just playing it as a multiplayer game. But I didn't think about it. It's like, yeah, are these things that are recognizable from the main game, or are they just completely their own maps?
Because you have a game like Horizon, which I played and loved the story, loved the characters, loved the combat, but like the world was kind of small for me, like compared to other games. And you could fit like 20 Horizons in the map from Ghost Recon. Again, a game that did not have story that I loved as much, or characters or gameplay. But I think it's a smart reuse of those assets. So I am curious how this comes out. I don't know if I'm compelled at this point. Maybe I'll do a stream of it or something. But were you? How did this leave you at the end of it? Or is Wildlands a game you think is in your future? Or?
So I played that and Rainbow Six were the two things that like, oh, these are games that are already out, and I'm kind of intimidated by both of them because they're like, competitive shooters. Rainbow Six, like we're not even doing a video. Sorry, like I was awful. I had no freaking clue what I was supposed to be doing. Yeah. Even though I was like with a team and trying to coordinate on it, but we were on a new map, and it's just like, and there are all these operatives, like 20 freaking characters to pick from with all these different strengths and weaknesses. Like, okay, whatever. But Ghost Recon, I kind of felt the same way going into, and I was like, oh, I'm actually, like pretty satisfied. I got some kills. I got a couple of guys. I managed to outflank some people. So yeah, it definitely played a little bit more to being able to just hop in and learn.
What's your style, Blood? Are you more I peg you as a scout. I peg you as the eye in the sky. It's like situational awareness, Bloodworth.
Yeah,
how I imagine.
That was definitely I was definitely trying to like figure out where people were gonna be and sneak up on them. I was going for the artillery and the enforcer for the most part. Running in as a tank is not really my thing.
That's what Huber's for.
And sniping is, I've never been the greatest
Buddy
at.
Jones, you're set.
There was some guy on our team, like everybody else was getting like 3 to 5 kills, or less. This guy came in with the sniper and got 15 kills.
Yep.
We're a 4v4 game. So people kept getting revived and kept getting sniped again.
That's gotta feel good too. That's like Full Metal Jacket style, where you see the guy wounded or on the ground, and his friend comes out and you wait until he gets close. And then...
Well, that was I'd had a moment too where like I was like waiting to get revived, but I was like, they're like people like right on this porch right now, and so somebody revived me, and then I immediately start shooting at the porch.
But that to me, from my limited time with Ghost Recon, not just Wildlands, but like the franchise is kind of like that like feeling the firepower of these weapons, feel like that risk reward of just like, man, if one of us gets taken out, in the old like co-op and the old games, like you were out, you were gone. Like one person gets taken out, they're gone until you relaunch the whole thing. So that risk, I like that. And especially saying like you gotta be on the same team. You can't like four people just split up, and it sounds like you're not gonna you will not be rewarded with a win unless you're all just like miraculous players. But if you need a tank, Huber's willing. If you need a sniper, I got your back, Blood.
Cool.
Thanks for watching, everybody.